A Virginia Beach college student is continuing to make an impact long after her death. Coming up tonight on News 3, we'll explain how the Ashanti Alert could go around the country and help others in danger.
Do you have what it takes to be an FBI special agent? I'm Rachel Carden with News 3. Coming up, we'll tell you who they're hiring and how you can get involved.
Since September 2017, Ashanti Billy's name has gone from being associated with a tragedy to a mission to help others.
This is something that will save lives in the future.
The 19-year-old college student was taken from JEB Little Creek on September 18th. Weeks later, her body was found behind a North Carolina church. But instead of linking her name with her untimely death, it's now being used to help others in danger.
I feel like the Ashanti case, it really brought awareness to the community as a whole.
In July, the Ashanti Alert was implemented in Virginia. The alert, like the Amber Alert and Silver Alert, is being used to warn the public about a missing and endangered person between the ages of 18 and 65. It's an age group not currently served by the other alert systems.
We needed a voice for women, and we needed a voice for men and people, and now we realize that we basically help save a missing part.
Within a month, 3 Ashanti Alerts have been issued just in Virginia, which is why Congressman Scott Taylor is now trying to bring it nationwide. The congressman has been involved in Ashanti's case since she first disappeared.
We went into Scott Taylor's office, and he promised and said that he would help us. And he said that he would get this on a federal level.
After looking into redirecting federal funds, Congressman Taylor plans to fulfill his promise of bringing the Ashanti Alert to the House floor in September.
To be able to go back a year later and not be in his office, but possibly be in D.C. and to see this vote and to see this get, go to the next step, this is going to be amazing.
This right here is just a beacon of light.
From his home in Maryland, Ashanti Billy's father, Mel Toney, shares how excited he is to know that his daughter's name could be used to save missing adults nationwide.
We have something that is going to be, greater than great.
Ashanti was only 19 years old when she was taken from JEB Little Creek on September 18th. Weeks later, her body was found behind a North Carolina church. In July, the Ashanti Alert was implemented in Virginia. The alert, like the Amber Alert and Silver Alert, is used to warn the public about a missing and endangered person between the ages of 18 and 64. It's an age group not currently served by the other 2 alert systems. In Virginia alone, the alert has been issued 3 times in a month. Now Congressman Scott Taylor is trying to implement it nationwide.
The legacy of Ashanti is already living on in a very positive way, and I think we should be doing this across the United States.
According to Congressman Taylor, it will take $50,000 for the Ashanti Alert to be put into place. It's the same cost as the other 2 programs.
We had to find an offset, and it took us a little while to do that, but we do believe we have now identified an offset in a program that's been underutilized.
Once the funds are moved, Congressman Taylor plans to bring the Ashanti Alert to the House floor. His goal is for it to be heard on September 25th. The date marks the 1-year anniversary of Congressman Taylor's involvement in Ashanti's case and a major milestone in Ashanti's legacy.
The legacy of Ashanti will be upheld in a very positive way and save lives.
In Virginia Beach, I'm Allison Mechanic, News 3.
This is a classic example of a self-inflicted wound.
Dr. Quentin Kidd from the Wason Center for Public Policy at Christopher Newport University says Congressman Scott Taylor's staff caused their own controversy to happen. Right now, a special prosecutor is investigating whether Taylor's staff broke election or forgery laws when they collected signatures to help get independent candidate Sean Brown on the ballot in the 2nd Congressional District.
At the end of the day, this makes the election about something that he doesn't need it to be about, which is, at best, did his campaign engage in what would be shady and close to unethical behavior? At worst, did his campaign engage in illegal activity?
Right now, it's a 3-way race in the 2nd District between Taylor, Brown, and Democrat Elaine Luria. Taylor's team's tactics are seen as a way to dilute the Democratic vote and help Taylor's campaign.
It looks to me like Scott's campaign team was thinking, how can we essentially maximize our potential for winning?
As we've been telling you, several people have come forward to say they never signed the petition. Among them, the widow of Richard Stewart Cake, who says her late husband died 2 months before the petition says he signed it.
There's a pattern here that suggests that there's something more than random going on.
And now, with about 3 months to go before Election Day, Kidd thinks voters need answers before they go to the polls.
Voters need to know that stuff before the election happens, because that will likely determine, A, whether voters vote for him or his Democratic opponent, or whether they stay home.
Taylor says he found out about the questionable signatures at the same time as everyone else. In his statement, he says he does not tolerate inappropriate activities and is fully cooperating with the investigation. I'm Brendan Ponton, News 3.
The mother in this case and also the defendant, Melissa Ness Hopkins, pled guilty today to 5 charges of child neglect. Now, we'll warn you, some of the information in this report is disturbing. Lethargic, lying in the crib, making noises similar to that of a caged animal. Flea bites. All children had lice. As Melissa Ness Hopkins left court today, we attempted to speak to her about the child neglect she pled guilty to. You have no comment about the case, ma'am? Nothing about your guilty plea today? Do you miss your kids? According to the Commonwealth's attorney, Child Protective Service workers were sent to this house in July of last year after someone called in to report the children may be in danger. Investigators said they searched the home and found 2 young boys in cribs that had bars screwed across the top, entrapping the children. The home was said to be filthy, infested with fleas, and all the children reportedly had bug bites and lice. 5 little boys, ages 1 to 6, lived in the home at the time, and all of them were taken from the house that day. Many placed in foster care immediately. 1 child began staying with a relative. Ness Hopkins was charged with 5 counts of child neglect. She bonded out of jail after being charged and remains out on bond today after pleading guilty to the charges against her. Evidence presented in court shows many of the children suffer from mental disorders after being under their mother's care. The defense said Ness Hopkins never meant to intentionally hurt the children and added she suffers from depression and mental health issues of her own. She's agreed to stay in the area with a friend and continue doctor's visits while out of jail. Ness Hopkins will be back in court here in Accomack County in December for her sentencing date. We know she could face up to 25 years behind bars. In Accomack County, I'm Rachel Cardin, News 3. Domestic intelligence, nationwide security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They want to know if you have the makings of their next special agent.
If you want it bad enough, you can definitely obtain it.
The Bureau is looking to hire 900 special agents for positions nationwide. The process is long and multifaceted, but contrary to what you might think, you could be exactly who they're looking for as long as you're 37 years old or younger.
We need people to bring different backgrounds in because you have to match the bad guy to be able to get the bad guy.
Special skill sets and a variety of knowledge is what the FBI needs. They say they hope to hire more women and minorities to their office so they reflect back on the people they serve.
Diversity across the community, and Norfolk and Hampton Roads has always been a great ground for us to recruit from.
Interviews, background checks, lie detection. You have to pass it all, and then you take the physical fitness test.
Special agents in charge of the physical fitness say all 4 pieces aren't necessarily that hard, but when you put them all together, that's what becomes a challenge.
Challenge accepted.
It's a continuous motion exercise. There is no resting. Go.
Today, the FBI made me work to see if I had what it takes to pass.
While we have semi-white collar jobs, the ability for us to be able to act quickly, adjust to any situation is important, and physical fitness is a key part of that.
I'm proud to report I made it and passed. And if you train, the FBI says you can pass too. They even have an app to help you prepare. But first, you have to want this.
Join the FBI. It's the greatest career that they'll ever have.
In Chesapeake, I'm Rachel Cardin, News 3.
Good. I'll show up fresh next time. Thanks.
All proceeds from the tournament will benefit Bellamy Gamboa's family. It was put together by Lynn Haven Baseball, who say that Gamboa was a team mother for them and a major part of their community. During baseball season, Bellamy Gamboa could be found on the sidelines cheering on her son's team. While she wasn't there in person today, her memory was.
Pretty much the glue that held the team together.
Chris Bufus, coach of the Lynn Haven baseball team, says Gamboa held the title of Team Mom, but she was so much more than that.
She was a big part of our, she helped a lot.
The Virginia Beach mother of 4 disappeared in early July. Just last week, her ex-boyfriend, Lamont Johnson, confessed to choking and killing her before putting her body in a bag and bringing it to Chesapeake. To this day, her body has not been found. Police called off the search for her this week, and in an online statement, her family says her body will never be recovered. But instead of focusing on all these tragic details, baseball players from all over Hampton Roads came together to play ball and help the grieving family.
We thought we would committee would put together a fundraiser.
All of the proceeds from the tournament will go to Bellamy's family. It's the baseball community's way to give back to the woman they say gave so much to their teams.
And she was a volunteer here, and how special she was and what she meant to us, and how much we appreciate her and are going to miss her.
The tournament will continue tomorrow, and we're told by the Gamboa family that there will be even more events in the future to honor Bellamy's memory. In Virginia Beach, I'm Allison Mechanic, News 3. While this shooting happened nearly 24 hours ago, caution tape still marks the area where police were investigating. But at this time, no arrests have been made.
There's a gunshot wound on Virginia Beach Boulevard by the Rite Aid. I need multiple units.
This is the call to first responders that turned a busy Virginia Beach intersection into a crime scene.
Crime scene in the middle of the roadway.
It was around 2:30 in the morning as bars and nearby businesses at the oceanfront were closing.
We're not happy about it.
LaFay Cobb owns a parking lot right next to where the shooting occurred. She says her staff had just closed down for the night when gunshots rang out.
It's been a long time since we've had anything that close.
According to police, it all started with an argument between a group of people. Then one man was shot. No one else was injured, but those responsible remain on the loose tonight, leaving those who live and work nearby uncomfortable.
Shooting people is not fun. And having that kind of thing is not a pleasant thing to be around.
Police have not yet released the identity of the man killed in the shooting. They say they are still trying to notify his family members. If you have any information that can help police, take action and call the crime line. In Virginia Beach, I'm Allison Mechanic, News 3.
The city is looking for people to adopt part of the beach and look out for things like trash or any kind of other issues. Make sure that trash gets into the trash can and be the eyes and ears of Ocean View. Evidently, someone had a little too much fun and left this beer can at the edge of the bay in Ocean View. And it's trash like this Norfolk is trying to keep off the beaches.
Litter is the one pollution we can stop.
Fleeta Jackson from the Keep Norfolk Beautiful office says there's a new initiative to help clean up the beaches. It's called the OV Beach Team, where volunteers can pick a part of the beach and help clean up the trash, but also look out for other issues.
Basically, they're going to be our eyes and ears.
It all started earlier this summer. They're looking for people to adopt a part of the beach. There are 36 spots across 7 miles of beach, and so far they have 13 spots taken and are looking for 26 more.
This is just another step to make sure we keep everything clean and looking good and lessen air pollution.
And while trash is an ongoing issue, they're hoping for other feedback as well, like after a big storm.
Is there erosion? Did a step fall down? Is there damage somewhere, or is everything A-OK?
Volunteers are expected to provide feedback each month through email. It's all an effort to make sure the Mermaid City is more mermaid friendly and make sure, like we did, that beer cans end up in the trash.
We do not want these pollutants in the waterway. They're bad for the economy, they're bad for swimming, they're bad for just the aesthetics of walking up and down the beach. We want you to enjoy walking up and down the 7 miles of Ocean View Beach on the Chesapeake Bay.
This is going to be a year-round effort, and if you want more information, head to WTKR.com. In Norfolk, Brendan Ponton, News 3.
I'm Samantha German in Hampton, and right now I'm standing at the police station that is just 4 minutes away from last night's shooting on Lincoln Street. Police have now identified the victim as 33-year-old Samuel Hill of Newport News. Today, residents on Lincoln Street say they heard so many gunshots rip through the air last night, it sounded as if the shooter had almost emptied out their clip.
It was just like pop, 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 pop.
Police were called to Lincoln Street just a few blocks away from the police department last night around 10. Today, you can still see a heavy police presence there, some officers wearing bulletproof vests.
It was probably around like 9 something, closer to 10. I just heard some gunshots. I just thought somebody was maybe just firing into the air or something like that.
When police arrived on scene last night, they found 33-year-old Samuel Hill suffering from more than one gunshot wound. Hill was pronounced dead at the crime scene. Today, neighbors, fearful to show their face on camera with the shooter still on the loose, say violence is starting to become all too normal in this area.
You do kind of see like sketchy activity, especially coming from a quiet neighborhood. And then you buy a house over here and all you hear is about violence.
Police say if you know anything at all about this shooting, speak up and call the crime line at 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. In Hampton, Samantha German, News 3.
I mean, we've seen a lot of lightning around here, but for it to strike something right here close to home, it's crazy.
Witnesses say they heard thunder, then saw lightning.
Honestly, it sounded like trains being hooked up to one another. That's how close it was.
We were in the house playing music, and I just hear kaboom, and you literally felt this. And a few minutes later, you kind of see smoke wafting off.
Chesapeake fire crews got the call just minutes after 5 this afternoon. They found an electrical meter on the side of this home in flames. Heavy smoke was coming from the second floor and the attic.
I noticed that 3 or 4 or 5 fire trucks started pulling up, and I started seeing smoke coming out of that house from the roof.
Crews made an aggressive attack inside, but noticed electrical equipment was in use, making it harder to put out the fire. Dominion Energy quickly arrived to turn the power off, and the fire was contained an hour later. Although no one was home when it started, 2 adults now have to stay elsewhere.
It's a close-knit community. Everybody's going to know what happened.
Everybody knows everybody out here, so if there's a way we can help them, we will definitely do that too.
You can expect to see 8 miles long of construction between Newman Road and Marquis Parkway for the next several months. And although it's the last phase in the project, drivers I spoke with say they are looking forward to it being completed.
We definitely hit a lot of construction, and then you'll see the traffic kind of like slows down and comes to a halt, which kind of puts like maybe an hour onto your trip.
Last week, I had to wait like an hour, and I was late for work.
If you've ever driven on the peninsula and gotten stuck in traffic, you've probably been closely watching progress on this project.
There's not really a shoulder, so instead of them kind of stopping and waiting and being able to pull on the shoulder, they're swerving back over into traffic to try and make their exit. So that's a little crazy and hectic, especially when you have kids in the car.
But that will all change soon. An additional travel lane and shoulder lane will be added in each direction. There will also be hot lanes. The I-64 widening project is 21 miles long total. The first phase started in Newport News between Jefferson Avenue and Yorktown Road and ended last December. The second and third phase stretches into James City County and York County. It's a multi-million-dollar project soon to benefit all travelers in the near future. But until then, local drivers say they're avoiding the chaos to get from point A to point B.
Today is Sunday. A lot of people be out of town traveling and stuff, and some people don't know their way around here. So it's easier and it's better for me to go on 60 to go home.
The entire project is expected to be completed in the year of 2021. Reporting in York County, I'm Aaliyah Hodges, News 3.
Thieves are always looking for an easy way to break into your vehicle. I'm Erin Miller. Coming up on News 3, if you file a report with police, we'll tell you just how much it may cost you to get a copy. If you woke up to this video on your surveillance camera, would you know what to do?
Call the police, 911.
Many people think when you call police, an officer immediately checks on your property, but that's not always the case.
Depending on the circumstances, an officer could come out to the scene to take the report from the victim, or it could be handled over the phone, depending on certain things, like if there's evidence left at the scene, forensics, stuff like that.
So if they just rummaged through your vehicle or stole less than $2,000 worth of items, chances are you will be filing your report online or over the phone.
So just because an officer initially doesn't come out to the location of the crime, it's still being recorded and it's still going to be taken seriously and followed up on as every other report would.
And in cities across Hampton Roads, if you request a copy of your report, you'll have to pay out of pocket. You're charged for staff time spent searching records, copy costs, and anything else related to supplying the documents. The community has mixed reactions, including one man who did not want to appear on camera.
That's ridiculous. As much city dollars as we're paying, it's not going to kill them to make a copy.
I would just have to pay it. As long as I got the copy.
Sometimes you can't avoid crime, but you should always take precautions. Police say you should always lock your doors, and in addition to that, never leave loose items on the seat. In Chesapeake, officers ask you to report every break-in, even if nothing was stolen. That way, they can track crime patterns in each neighborhood. In Chesapeake, Erin Miller, News 3. Having someone break into your vehicle is a nightmare that nobody wants to deal with. But police say no matter where you live across Hampton Roads, the procedure for filing a report really isn't all that different from city to city.
Once the report is filed, it'll get put in an active list, and then that will end up getting forwarded to our investigations unit. Generally, a detective will be assigned the case, and then the detective will follow up with the victim.
One resident who didn't want to appear on camera told News 3 he's been the victim of 2 recent vehicle break-ins, a problem on the rise in Chesapeake this summer.
What they're doing is they're going through and checking handles. If you left your handle unlocked, they're going to go through your vehicle.
Even if that's the case and your vehicle is broken into, it's not guaranteed that an officer will come to your location.
Depending on the circumstances, an officer could come out to the scene to take the report from the victim, or it could be handled over the phone, depending on certain things, like if there's evidence left at the scene, forensics, stuff like that.
I know they can't be everywhere at once, and I know some cases take priority over others, but I get that.
Just know that in some cities, if you want a physical copy of the police report, it could be an out-of-pocket cost. You're charged for administrative services to find your exact report. Police say the best way to avoid any problems is to lock your doors and not leave loose items on your seats. Police say that even if nothing is stolen from your vehicle, it's still important to report it to them so they can keep it for their records. In Chesapeake, Erin Miller, News 3.
What went wrong while driving from Norfolk to Monroeville, Alabama? That's what Sherry Saunders' family desperately wants to know. Amanda Reed tells News 3 it's a trip that Sherry's made 4 times before.
She was visiting my mother because my mother has Alzheimer's, and so her and my mother are very close. And my dad always looks forward to her visits, and she's like a second mom to me.
But they knew something wasn't right when she never checked in.
On all 4 prior trips, she would call every 30 minutes to an hour.
Police in Evergreen, Alabama say Sherry Saunders was last seen shortly after 1 a.m. the next day when she stopped to get gas at a Shell station. Surveillance images shows her red Toyota Corolla at the gas station, and you can see her at the cash register. Sherry was only 30 minutes away from her family in Monroeville, Alabama.
We have called her phone every day since the 4th, praying to God that maybe it turns on. And it doesn't. We've left her, I'm pretty sure, at least 300 voicemails at this point.
Since then, search crews have been looking for the 67-year-old woman, but there's been no sight of her. Investigators found Sherry Saunders' car in the woods of Alabama on August 12th. Police later ended their search 3 days later.
I'm trying not to cry, but yeah, we have no answers. We don't know what, when, where, why, how, or who. We don't know, and that's the frightening part.
The family says there have been a lot of tears shed and frustration felt, but they're still clinging on to faith to bring Sherry home.
Please, this is our family, and whatever thoughts you may have, just pray, please.
Just before 4 o'clock this afternoon, police say a call came in as a code blue, which means someone is unresponsive.
EMS 95 Squad 5, respond party for code blue. Caller is going to be an 18-year-old male advising that he can see a female laying on the floor and he can see blood.
A bunch of my neighbors standing outside in the corner and just police jumping down the street and just with a caution off tape.
When police arrived on Ashton Green Boulevard, they found an adult male and female with gunshot wounds. Both victims were pronounced dead on scene. Neighbors say this is mostly a retired area with a lot of military as well. People who've been living here for years say they've never seen anything like this.
This has been a quiet neighborhood. Not too much has ever really happened around here.
That's the best shot I got.
People asking questions, reading information, and learning about what changes to expect when it comes to the Deep Creek Bridge replacement.
We've been in this area for about 20 years now, so we've seen what that bridge, all the traffic has caused for our area, and it has gotten worse.
The current bridge was built in 1934 and is only 2 lanes and 20 feet wide. As Chesapeake started to develop, traffic did too. More than 20 years ago, the bridge was deemed functionally obsolete. More than 30,000 cars a day use it. Now a fix is coming soon.
It is 100% designed now. We are looking at essentially what is 2 bridges going in the same spot with 5 lanes.
The new bridge will be 144 foot long and 60 foot wide. It'll cost more than $48 million. About $28 million is from the federal government. There are concerns, though, about the construction, which is set to start next year.
The control of the traffic, I think that's the most important thing that we want to see.
A 2-lane bridge will be built south of the current one first. Once that's complete, the old bridge will be demolished to build a 3-lane bridge.
The direction coming off of Moses Grandy towards George Washington is the 3-lane span. The 2-lane will be coming in the opposite direction.
Citizens got a chance to ask specific questions about how their commute will be affected, but most are just ready for traffic to get better.
I'm excited for the new bridge, and I'm glad we won't have to pay a toll.
Reporting in Chesapeake, I'm Kim Kung, News 3.
"32-year-old Leslie Van Orden is charged with felony possession of heroin and reckless driving. She was arrested during a traffic stop at the intersection of Bainbridge Boulevard and Edgewood Ave in Chesapeake. Court documents say she has been a Portsmouth magistrate for 2 years, but currently lives in Chesapeake. According to court documents, Van Orden has no prior criminal record. Van Orden's attorney, Nathan Chapman, tells New 3, quote, "The facts to support the case are still coming in, and I look forward to making sure she's treated fairly throughout the process," unquote. Van Orden was released on a $4,000 bond the same day she was arrested. Her preliminary hearing is scheduled for November 30th. In Chesapeake, Erin Miller, News 3.
I'm from Byron Bay, Australia, and we're here for the Vans ECSC contest. Super fun. Waves are kind of average, but you just got to get it done.
the police came, they kicked the door in with the pole, you know, and they went in the house with their guns and whatnot, you know, so that's all.
I saw their guns drawn when they forced open the home to see what's inside.
This is video from a neighbor showing police at Shatrina Fountain's home on Winbrook Lane yesterday afternoon.
This road right here is normally quiet. We don't have no, incidents like that.
So there were a lot of people looking what's going on.
Police say Fountain stabbed a teller inside a Navy Federal Credit Union on Providence Road and drove off. They soon found her driving on Baxter Road. Officers tell News 3 they tried to stop Fountain, but she refused to stop. Police then blocked off Baxter Road and approached Fountain. They say she refused their commands to get out of the car. Fountain was tased, but officers say she then lunged at one of them with a weapon. That's when an officer shot at her. Shatrina Fountain was taken to the hospital but is expected to recover. She faces 1 count of malicious wounding for the stabbing inside the Navy Credit Union and felony assault on an officer. Police found a 30-year-old woman, Ashley Dozier Tyler, dead inside of a home on North Road Street around 7:30 Thursday evening. The cause of death remains unknown at this time. However, police found her after they received a call about a door left open at the home. Crime tape and officers still surround this home on North Road Street. Someone called police around 7:30 Thursday evening and said a door was left open at the home. That's when officers found 30-year-old Ashley Dozier Tyler dead inside. News 3 talked with people who saw the investigation unfold from across the street.
Policemen walking around the house, shining flashlights. That's all I saw. Well, we just figured something was up over there. Something bad had to have happened. They already had the police tape up.
Officers were back at the crime scene this evening watching the home. They're still trying to figure out what could have happened to the 30-year-old woman. No arrests have been made, leaving some neighbors worried for their safety. They're hoping the victim, Ashley Dozier Tyler, gets justice soon.
Didn't know anybody that lived in the house at this time. There have been several people live in the house over there. Haven't known any of them personally.
Police ask if you know anything that can help solve this crime to call them. Reporting in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, I'm Aaliyah Hodges, News 3.
The kids lost everything. So did she.
Tears streamed down the face of this grandmother when she described the devastation left inside the condemned home. She says her daughter Megan Swanner, boyfriend, and 4 children are still living in a hotel where the Red Cross placed them.
I'm sure that's probably, hard on them too, because like I said, she didn't have renter's insurance or nothing.
Investigators say the man responsible is 32-year-old Michael Phillip Jones, Megan's estranged husband. He's been charged with arson to a 2003 Dodge Grand Caravan and other charges related to the arson. Jones shares 2 children with Megan, including the 4-year-old boy who was inside the home at the time.
I've been telling her for a while that he's gonna end up hurting somebody or something's gonna happen bad to them. I've been telling her that for years.
Jones remains behind bars without bail. Court documents show he was on probation or parole from past criminal offenses. Those documents say he has an extensive criminal record dating back to 2007. The family says many of the crimes involving Megan. Now the family is asking for help. They're raising money and collecting donations in hopes to get their lives back to normal.
Toys, you don't think about stuff like that until you don't have it.
The family says they hope Jones doesn't get a slap on the wrist for another crime he's accused of committing.
The mother of his children and his children? Who does that? I don't think he should ever get out of jail, honestly.
We'll be back up in a couple days, and luckily lots of the inventory wasn't here. So what was grabbed was it was a minimal thing.
These are photos of the damages employees of CE Tactical found when they entered their store this morning. The owner says it's been a long day of cleaning up after the store was broken into. Police were called around 4:30 early this morning, and they say a group of suspects were inside an SUV and drove through the front doors. Officers told News 3 multiple items were stolen and a full inventory of what was stolen is underway. We spoke with the owner of George's Steakhouse next door, who didn't know there was a break-in.
No problems before. This is the first time I heard something like that. There's a small robberies, at gas stations, out on the roads. Maybe, but like I said, over the 40 years, you can probably say maybe 2 or 3. And this is one of them today. Before, never heard nothing.
Meanwhile, the owner of CE Tactical says they're working on tightening up security while the shop is closed.
And then just putting new, more enhanced security measures on this to prevent this kind of act in the future.
Today we have right under 200 service members from all branches of the military supporting 13 elementary schools throughout Chesapeake. I just sent the message out to the elementary principals who would like some extra help, and then the emails started coming in. Yes, add me, add me.
It is an incredibly important task because the two busiest times of the year in the classroom as far as time-wise is setup and breakdown. They're doing things such as setting up bookshelves, labeling books, putting together carpets, you name it, I think we have them doing it.
Students should feel comfortable and safe in a warm, welcoming, nurturing environment. It really is a labor of love that we put into our classrooms. Just having that extra support, the extra hands to get the little details done is so helpful, and I love seeing their faces when they walk in for the first time.
Volunteering, it is a great thing to do because it shows the kids and the community that you do care, and the kids are the future, so why not help them and brighten their futures by volunteering?
Our service members, they truly understand and appreciate the important work that our educators do on a daily basis. So it's an honor for us to give back and volunteer in our schools.
We spoke to several neighbors today who say they thought police were in the area a few nights ago to arrest Shaquan Cuffey for drug-related crimes. When we told them what he's charged with, everyone was shocked. Sex trafficking with intent to receive money, prostitution of a minor, and encouraging a minor to produce porn. These are just some of the charges 22-year-old Shaquan Cuffey is facing.
That scares me because I have young daughters.
Young girls, yeah.
And there's a lot of young girls that run around here.
In fact, the street is filled with kids, according to a dad we spoke to today.
You got 5 to 10, then you got the teenage girls, maybe 12 to 15. All, you see them outside when it's warm, walking, talking with their friends or whatever. And then it's a play park right behind the house.
This video, taken by a neighbor on Wednesday afternoon, shows police activity along Bassett Avenue around the time of Cuffey's arrest. Nathan Serrano was home during the arrest. He said he heard a loud explosion.
I came back out a couple minutes later, and there probably were 15 to 20 police officers arresting the man across the street.
After Cuffey was cuffed and jailed, court documents list the offenses as being against girls between the ages of 15 and 18, all minors. Sickening information for the people who live here.
I'm appalled. I can't believe that anything would be going on like that and how it's allowed to go on like that, undisclosed. I know somebody knew something.
Neighbors say Cuffey used to live on Bassett Ave. Court documents reveal his current residence is one street over. Cuffey was arraigned yesterday. Right now, he is behind bars in the Virginia Beach City Jail being held without bond, and he's expected back in court in October. In Virginia Beach, I'm Rachel Carden, News 3.
Remembering a fallen veteran coming up on News 3, how a 2,700-mile bike ride is keeping his memory alive. 2,700 miles, multiple volunteers, one tandem bicycle. This is how Marine veteran John Hunt's memory will live on.
We're continuing mission like we do in the U.S. military. We never give up.
Stokes and Hunt were in the process of training for an East Coast bike ride spanning from Maine to Florida. Both veterans, one Army, one Marine, wanted to raise awareness for Operation Enduring Warrior. The organization empowers veterans to push their limits. Given Hunt had been blind for the past 8 years, this ride did just that.
He had an indomitable spirit. He did not want to be a depressed, addicted, isolated veteran that just sat at home.
While training for the multi-state bike ride, Hunt suffered a heart attack and passed away. This was only 1 month ago.
His purpose behind this tour was to inspire other people. That's why it's so important that we continue on.
News 3 was there as riders passed through Hampton Roads on their way to North Carolina. So far, the volunteers have clocked about 1,000 miles, and they're calling Virginia Beach the halfway point to their final destination. But if you see them passing by, you'll notice an empty seat.
The idea is that we keep his seat empty in his memory, so we just have one rider solo on the tandem bike.
The voyage began on August 12th, and cyclists are expected to reach Key West, Florida on September 20th, all the while being motivated by Hunt's spirit. Good luck! In Virginia Beach, Erin Miller, News 3.